It's 28 degrees and partly cloudy skies, but not to worry, your daily dose of sunshine is here. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
And in Lagos, we hear it's going to be excessive heat. 32 degrees is what is being promised, and I don't know what you're going to do outside today, particularly being a public holiday, so to speak. Today is March 32. Oh, yes. That's what happens.
Oh, yeah. Somebody's having fun this morning. It's allowed.
Well, we call it all
March
Fool's Day, don't we?
That's a first.
So I was just trying to fool someone. I know I didn't succeed at it. Welcome to April. Am I your Makinde?
Indeed. I mean, what a welcome it is to April. I mean, it's quite cool here in Abuja, and it's good to see. I want to believe that is also cool from the skyline that you can see right now, coming to you all the way from Kaduna State. And what you're seeing right now,
well, this is definitely not one of those sites you think about when you think about northern Nigeria. But Kaduna State does have this reputation being a commercial city, one of the most prominent commercial cities in the city, well, in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria. And one thing you can't take away its cosmopolitan nature as well. It's beautiful site, and it's very, very welcoming people. No doubt, you would think that you could mistake it for anything. You could even mistake it for Lagos. This is the now famous Kabbalah Costain, Kabbalah Costain and Aliyu Bamawa Road in Kaduna State. Recently, well, not too long ago, rehabilitated, commissioned, we understand, by the previous government as well. And it is, as we gathered, has made life a lot more, much easier for the people in the state. And anywhere and everywhere, everyone is celebrating what has been achieved in that city right there. That roundabout that you saw first is also in Kaduna, inside Kaduna city. Saying a roundabout is what some people may even call it, but hey, that is what you have right there. A beautiful, beautiful skyline, something that you just take it in and know that Nigeria has its beautiful spots anywhere and everywhere you go.
You know, a bit of infrastructure improvement always makes a difference to the lives of the people around it, and it certainly helps, you know, facilitates movement, brings some sense of modernity, you know, facilitates inclusion in those places. So I'm hoping that in this season of the holidays, the season of Eid, that, you know, people will find it a lot easier to go see their loved ones in this period, that they will find the roads pleasant to use, and that they'll be mindful of others on the roads. Because, yes, much as we all love new roads, sometimes you find that we step on the gas pedals a little too hard, and we cause unpleasant accidents. So by all means, I'm hoping that while we enjoy this infrastructure, the people of Kaduna do as well, that we all are mindful of making sure that safety is at the top, yes, not at the back. Safety is at the top of our minds. Getting to where you're going to very safely should be primary reason, or should be primary focus for everyone behind the wheels. You know, remember loved ones whenever it is that you're driving. But yes, these are sights and sounds coming to you from Kaduna this morning. We'll be going there much later, talking about the politics of the state, which is heated up somewhat since the former governor of the state defected to the SDP. We'll come to that much later, but these are the sights and sounds. But moving away very swiftly to nearby Kano State, I'm talking about moving with infrastructure. I'm not sure how Governor Monday Okpebolo visited Kano State, whether he went by road, but he was saying that he couldn't wait for a flight. If I heard that in that particular track very clearly, he said he didn't wait for a flight. I'm not sure whether he was referring to his visit to Uromi or he was referring to his visit to Kano. But you know, he said he did not wait for a plane, and he knew he had to go immediately once he heard the very unfortunate news of what had happened in Uromi, where 16 hunters were suspected to be kidnappers. They were profiled and they were executed in the most brutal fashion. Well, I think that clarifies the whatever it was I had in mind. He certainly went there by air, so I imagine that he was referring to his visit to Uromi after that very dastardly incident. That's Governor Monday Okpebolo there, visiting the governor of Kano State, Abba Yusuf, you know, expressing his condolences and his regrets over what had happened in Uromi in Edo State, which is something that every Nigerian should condemn without reservation. I think over and over again, we have highlighted the fact that whatever our misgivings are, you know, about one another, whatever our misgivings are about whatever it is that anyone has done, because, you know, this has happened between ethnic groups and between different people from different states. And so it has taken a different sort of dimension. But we've seen this type of thing happen also within states. But we know that when it happens across states and across ethnic groups, across different religions, it takes on an even bigger dimension. But I believe that if we had been more vociferous in, you know, stamping out this issue of jungle justice, if we have been more, will I say, adept at it, perhaps this will not happen. And I was listening to, you know, some of the analysis given by a guest here on our sister program, Politics Today, yesterday. And Mr. Kabir Yusuf was talking about how, you know, why it is that people are more incensed in the North over this sort of issues, especially in the manner in which these people were killed. I'm hoping, and he will, in fairness, will I say, in his own analysis, he says the governor has done really well in trying to calm the nerves. Well, while we try to calm nerves, it's also important that we build the institutions that need to build confidence in people. Because first and foremost, it is not right that people continue to report or do not have confidence in their own security agencies, where they believe that, oh, if we hand these people over to the security agents, oh, they will most likely be let go. There will be no thorough investigation, and this is what we have been going through. These underlying root causes, which tend to push people towards taking the law into their own hands, need to be looked into, where there are no consequences for actions, where, you know, people have been talking about justice. Whenever it is incidences like this occur, where it doesn't happen, it is a problem, or where politics takes over. These are the kinds of things that aggravate matters like this when they eventually occur. So it is a good thing to see the governor of Edo State, you know, seeking to pacify and seeking to say, look, we're willing to pay compensation, full compensation to the families affected. Sadly, compensation never brings back lives. What we need to do is strengthen our justice system and educate people more to know that jungle justice never pays, because you just might be meting out justice to the wrong person. This really has been a very, very worrying sight, and I'm glad to see that Governor Monday Okpebolo is taking the bull by the horns. The governor of Kano State has also been quite receptive. I heard him saying yesterday that he is also appealing to the agencies, the security agencies, to parade those who they have arrested, because he believes that this will calm nerves. Don't forget that also, I think only recently, the security agencies were saying, I think the police more specifically was saying they were going to put a ban to parading suspects. But in this instance, if this will pacify people, would it be an exception to the rule? At least to begin to build confidence again in people, knowing that whenever it is that they say they've done something, they truly have done it. Ayo.
You know, I'd have loved to hear the two governors, because I know that they spoke to us at some point. But please just stick with Channels Television. I'm sure in subsequent bulletins you'll be hearing them. But, you know, Mark, when you spoke about the compensation, there are countless ways to look at it. And some are going to say, we haven't even had any investigation. We don't know where this all came from. We don't know where it is going. And then we're already talking about compensation. Of course, it is the prerogative of anyone to take that initiative. And yes, you're right, Markwe. We have to commend the fact that the governor of Edo State took the gauntlet to travel all the way to Kano State at whatever risk, you know, and went there to at least try to talk to the people. And the governor of the state also took him to the community to speak with them. And that's really something to celebrate, is something to embrace. But the question is, who perpetrated this dastardly act? It speaks to one thing. I've had cause, and I'm sure you have as well, Markwet, to speak with some security agencies, officials, who will say, look, at the top brass, there is mutual understanding, there is mutual respect and all, but when it comes to the field, it's a whole new ball game altogether. The police are still at variance with the soldiers, security officials are still at odds with each other when they're on the field. It's the same thing, I dare say, in politics and in governance. At the top level, in the Senate, they sit together, in the House of Representatives, they sit together. Leaders, they judge all. Well, guess what the people do? They war. So who is communicating to the people that we don't need to fight ourselves? We are all in the same boat called Nigeria. We have only one captain. We have a number of servants here and there across all the 36 federating units of the country and all. So at what point do we find that these differences separate us? What are these things that are separating us? The former Vice President Osinbajo said this thing. We have cracks in the walls. Who is speaking to these cracks? Let's not just ignore them and imagine that they are not there. They are there. And they are unfortunately being made to fester by politicians and political icons who have one interest or the other. It is a reality we have reported several times on Channels Television. Whether or not these are the things, Marquette, that are playing out in the different pockets of communal clashes that we see among ourselves, that's another ball game altogether. But this is where we are. Has the investigation begun? What is the way forward? And how do we ensure that should this kind of things happen again, there is indeed severe consequences? Questions, Markwe.
Those who missed the visit yesterday and what was said at that visit, this was the outcome.
The delegation of the governor of Edo State arrived in the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, where they were received by the state governor, Abba Yusuf. This visit to Kano State is coming on the heels of the killing of some travelers at Uromi in Edo State last Thursday. From the Malam Aminu Kano Airport, the delegation moves to the Kano Government House. Here, Governor Kwebolo sums up his feelings about the murder of 16 travelers who were killed in Uromi.
I got the information in the night. At 4 a.m., I had already set to travel to Uromi. I couldn't wait to board an aircraft because I needed to be there on time. Your Excellency, I got there, I met my house brothers. When I got there, it was a different ball game. They all drop their anger. The next thing they could be saying is 4+4. So that is the level of love they have for me and I have for them. Mr. President wasn't happy at all. He didn't waste time. He made no mistake to direct the service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, to go after the killers of these people. Your Excellency, I can assure you that justice will prevail.
For Governor Yusuf, the only way to assuage the pain of the killing is for those responsible to be brought to justice.
We will want to see them physically paraded so that Nigerians and the families could see them to know, yes, they were apprehended. That, Your Excellency, will go a long way in making the families and their own brothers happy.
From the government house, both governors proceed to Toronkawa village in Bunkure local government area to commiserate with families of the victims of Uromi killings. At the end of the visit, both governors appeal for calm and also call on leaders at all levels to always promote peaceful coexistence and the safety of lives and property of citizens.
Opinions are still 6 for half a dozen when it comes to the emergency rule in Rivers State. The president's decision is still gathering as much reactions as you can imagine, depending on whose side you are. For instance, former Oyo State Governor and Otumba Rashid Laraja said that the declaration of emergency rule in Rivers State has ensured relative peace in the state. Well, questions. What do other former governors say? What do current governors say? What is the Nigerian Governors Forum saying? Maybe they will say something after this conversation that we're about to have with Mr. Jerry Chukwueke, who is former Chief Technical Advisor to the Governor of Imo State. He's also a public affairs analyst. He's here with me in the studio. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. These all over the place about the president's decision for a state of emergency. There are those who are looking at it from the political stance, some looking at it from the governance stance. You have worked with a governor of a state before, and you know how difficult or otherwise it can be for the executive and the legislature to work. You've probably had to even represent the governor with the legislature and all of that. What do you think could have brought this whole thing up?
Well, first, let us be clear. I think we now face the reality check, because I think it's important to put aside all the drama and just focus on what is really happening. Rivers State, in my view, is like no other. You can't compare Rivers State in terms of security or the sufficiency or insufficiency of it with what's happening in other states, because it is a place of strategic national interest. It's indeed a national security issue that Mr. President is dealing with. And why is that the case? It is because it is home to massive investment in hydrocarbon infrastructure, export pipelines, storage, the whole business of the one-dimensional economy Nigeria does have at the moment. And so, if we must continue to earn money, if we must pay all the debt accrued from the previous governments in terms of forward sales, if we must deal with the issue of local refineries production in terms of having crude supplies. And in addition to that, the issue of also being able to have sufficient crude for sale to earn dollars to keep the economy and exchange rate stable. When you take a look at what's going on, Mr. President has some serious work going on because of the strategic interest we have in Rivers State, all of Nigeria. And I say this because you have to put aside the politics and the optics of it.
Do you also have to put aside the Constitution?
Well, not necessarily. And that's not the argument here. We face, in my view, our economy faces an existential threat.
I get that.
And so, look what's going on already. Fuel prices is skyrocketing again.
That's not why fuel prices is skyrocketing.
No, we can talk
understand
about
that there are, yes, I do. We understand that there are a number of other issues arising in the oil market all over the world. And we all knew, ab initio, that fully deregulated environment means that the price of petrol and other petrochemical products are going to undulate up and down from time to time. We knew this. Ab initio, the president was unequivocal about that. But the question a number of people are asking is, while the president is allowed by law to declare a state of emergency, there is no way in the declaration of a state of emergency that any law known to us today, even though some are quoting some 1961, facilities and all, there is no law that, according to the legal practitioners, say that the president is allowed to suspend a governor because he was employed the same way the governor was employed.
Yes. So I go back to the conversation about national security interest.
I get the point because are you saying, are you inferring, my apologies, sir, are you inferring that the Constitution does not factor in national security in the declaration of state of emergency?
But guess what? But guess what's going on? Guess what's going on? In the case of Rivers State, and I don't want to get into all this noise making because there's so much drama going on that we're losing focus on the real issue. Because I ask, and anybody can now ask, what do you really do differently in a situation where we have a major issue with regards to containment of oil theft, vandalization of infrastructure, of the one source of managing the one-dimensional economy that we have? What do we do with what's giving us and this country the opportunity now for this government's policies, particularly having essentially removed this fuel subsidy issue, where we now have sufficient allocations to states and local governments as a consequence of the removal of fuel subsidy? What do you do differently? Because I ask, it's not just a matter of raising the argument about what the president may have done right or wrong, because there's no perfect policy here. But what is in the strategic national interest? That's the question. And what would anybody arguing do differently? Are you going to now go back and say, we don't recognize that the focus in Rivers State is that we must do everything to protect the strategic interest of Nigeria with regards to the one-dimensional economy challenge we face, and all of the pressures that are coming as a consequence? So the issue, in my view, and I think Mr. President is struggling with this, because he would have had to balance out all of this to say, where are we? You got forward sales challenge, crude oil production that is already pledged to pay debt accumulated over years in excess of 15 billion. You have now crisis with regards to crude oil availability for local refineries. We're seeing that already play with Dangote, that has the biggest facility out there to support the Nigerian economy. Or are you talking about earning dollars to keep the exchange rate stable and the economy going? Mr. President is under pressure on that matter. And let me tell you, I say opposition, we should be hearing arguments about what they would do and what should be done in their alternative. What would be done differently in the case of Rivers? So I go back to the issue. Investor confidence, production of crude, The target is 2.5 million barrels of crude a day by the next year. You see what Mr. President has done with regards to supporting local oil companies in purchasing local assets that the majors are not playing anymore, so as to ramp up. And I keep making the economy argument, because the economy is stupid is the issue. The more we can keep the economy stable and have the opportunities for our governors and local governments to keep operating and empowering the economy, every part of Nigeria is better. And give me 1 second here on this point. Look what's going on in the States. In my own state, Timo, it now takes less than 40 minutes to connect all of the senatorial zones in terms of roads infrastructure, with street lights and drainage. You got local schools, primary schools being rebuilt and refurbished. You got local health care. You got health insurance programs going on for our people. We want to bring more people to the safety net. It's going on as well in Enugu State. It's going on in Abia and Anambra. And in fact, Uyo State. Look what's going on. And look at Kano and Kaduna and all the work going. So I'm saying to you, we must take a deep breath and say, what is in our best national interest? How do we secure?
I get that.
And that's why I keep pivoting.
I get
because
that.
That's the real issue, isn't it?
I understand perfectly what you said.
Otherwise,
And there is no one, just a second, there is no one who's going to argue with it.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, if there was no state,
yes,
there would be nothing to contend with.
Yes.
If River State was not as, didn't have the resources, the positioning it has,
correct,
it probably wouldn't be as contentious.
Absolutely.
That's understood.
Correct.
However, there are those who have also, drawn what you said about investor confidence from a totally different angle. Their own argument is demolishing or fracturizing democratic institutions has a way of discouraging people from a nation that they think does not respect its own democratic structures or democratic infrastructure.
Yes.
So if the president, for instance, has the power to discombobulate the democratic structures of a state,
yes,
to the point of the government of the state, the executive and the legislature in the state, now seemingly suspended for whatever length of time it is, it raises questions as to what their confidence would be should, for instance, all the people that have signed with that state government, what happens to their investments?
So let's look at it. And I hear that argument. But my view is that Mr. President is probably looking at a reset situation in Rivers State, because he had tried many approaches to reaching understanding in terms of the lines of divide. He invited the elders of Rivers State. He engaged the governor and his opponents. And in fact, engaged even indirectly the House of Assembly in Rivers State. Have you thought about the fact that he may well be creating an opportunity for a reset? Let things calm down. I'm not even sure how long this quote-unquote suspension of Rivers State governor and the democratic system would be. It may be it may not even be the 6 months you're talking about. I think Mr. President is looking to have everybody take a deep breath and calm down, so we can now find a solution to how we protect national security interests and support democracy. Remember, he has a track record of a strong Democrat. You can't take that from him. That's what he's fought for. All of the political life I've known him, from Lagos State to Nadeko, and all the things he's done. So listen, let's give him some credit. What's happening here, and this is what I invite everybody to think about, is if we're going to have opposition, let's talk about what we'll do differently. Okay. What are you going to do different? Are you going to go back now?
I was actually going to ask you,
please do.
If you've spoken with some lawyers,
yes,
and what their arguments are about this constitutional conundrum.
Yes, I have, and you know what? I have lawyers on the other side as well.
Of course.
So the point is, I think Mr. President is set the stage for a reset. Everybody take a deep breath. I'm sure there are conversations going on about how we quickly return to democracy, but protecting the national strategic interest of this country.
I'm wondering whether that reset is going to happen and how, but don't answer that. Don't answer that question yet. Mark, please go ahead.
Indeed, Mr. Chukwueke, I hear you when you say that, this might be an opportunity for a reset. But there are those who are very frightened with what is happening in River State, particularly with the actions, some of the actions that the sole administrator has now taken, dissolving cabinet, you know, saying the commissioners are not needed. I think only recently the Council of Traditional Rulers too. I mean, and that came as a surprise because he met with traditional rulers a moment, I think, a day before, and then shortly after, you know, it seemed, or you know, that they were suspended, or the council was suspended. It's unclear what has happened. But there are those who are saying that the other levers of governing a state have now been dissolved or suspended by the sole administrator. So if this was just an attempt at reset, some people they have very, very, you know, strong misgivings about that. They think that the plot here is deeper than what people are actually looking at. They think it's more political, and they call it sinister in nature.
Well, again, I hear that argument, but it doesn't take from the issue that is at hand, how we protect the national interest of Nigeria and national strategic interest. Look, the new system and regime we have in River State is the position of a sole administrator. And I'm not so sure that a hybrid would necessarily bring the immediate stability that is required. I am convinced, and we have to see how this plays out, that this situation in River State is indeed a reset to give opportunity to all sides to take a deep breath and calm down and engage with the guidance and support of stakeholders to find a solution. I believe, Mr. President, will quickly restore democracy in River State as soon as things calm down enough, but the focus is he cannot let his foot off the pedal with regards to the national security interest of Nigeria, and River State presents just that. That's the point in my view. Mm.
The question is a reset for who? That's the question, because we know that even though, yes, the next elections are 2 years away, the political timetable starts to tick about now, and then INEC's timetable kicks in just a year before that. There are those who are saying this is all a reset, in your own words now, for, you know, political calculations, that that's what this is about.
That is not my view. I think the reset is to give the antagonists, the proponents of the challenges, and all of the people involved in this conundrum that has gotten us to where we are, an opportunity to take a deep breath and find some common ground. That's the reset I'm talking about. And I believe that as soon as that is sufficiently done, and those conversations are going on now, Mr. President, we have to restore democracy in River State.
Yeah,
but I think it's focused on national security interest, and that's the point I keep making.
If I may interrupt you, I mean, you just talked about those conversations that are going on now. Which conversations and where are they happening?
You're not going to know sitting here in the studio, Mokwe. I'm sure you know that. There are direct and indirect conversations going on. Mr. President is losing sleep over River State. I can assure you of that, because he knows the world is watching. He knows we need to support democracy, but more importantly, to keep our economy going and our strategic national interest. And it's an important balance. And I think that requires a careful approach. I have confidence that he's doing just that.
Yeah, but there are those who, that's basically the complaints, that part of the complaints that they have, that if this is what about seeking a political solution and, you know, making sure that people are taking a deep breath and taking a second look at what is happening in River State, that they're not seeing any of that happening. I don't want to think that those kinds of meetings will be happening in secret, so much so that journalists will not even get wind of those kinds of conversations happening. Yes, conversations can take place behind closed doors, but when there's movement, even journalists are aware. They know that meetings are taking place in certain places, even though the outcomes might not be disclosed to them. So if these conversations are actually happening, the question is where? Because the allegation is that the conversations are not even happening at all.
I'm not sure of that, Mokwe. Here, listen, all the public conversations and all the noise making and drama haven't gotten us anywhere. So you know that solutions are found quietly, with serious people engaging quietly and ensuring that all egos are massaged, and some of these important things, I assure you, have much more effective results when they're handled quietly. I don't believe that is a media, funfair and all the huge conversations and noise, because all we see out here in terms of public conversation is drama. But the real things are being talked about, in my view.
Well, as you said, things are happening behind the scene. The question is, what is happening behind the scene, and what do people do about everything that is happening, and when do they expect anything solid to come out? I think that's what people are waiting for.
Well, and I believe we'll get that.
Well,
we will get there, I believe.
I'll hold you to it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Jerry Chukwueke, former chief technical advisor to Imo governor, as well as the public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Okay. Well, from here we go to another conversation where we'll return. To stay with us.
In the last 2 years, under the leadership of Governor Ubasani, the government has prioritized robust reforms, including the introduction of the Pay Kaduna portal and other online revenue collection channels. These initiatives have significantly improved revenue collection and enhanced efficiency. Post-Rufai era figures speaks for themselves. In 2023, Kaduna State recorded an IGR of 62.4 billion. And in 2024, the figure rose to 71 billion. An average monthly collection of 5.2 billion naira and 6.0 billion naira, respectively. Kaduna State led in IGR performance in northern Nigeria in 2023, as declared by the National Bureau of Statistics, and one of the leading subnational IRS nationwide, as the 2024 figures are still being vetted and verified by the National Bureau for Statistics.
Well, that's Mr. Jerry Adams, who is the executive chairman of the Kaduna State Internal Revenue Generation Service, addressing some claims that had been made by the former governor of the state, Nasir El-Rufai, in an interview which he had granted, alleging that the internally generated revenue in the state was beginning to drop. He said during his time it was about 7 billion naira, but that about now it is dropping to about 2 billion naira, and that 100 billion naira was allegedly being paid into the account of an unknown person. So Mr. Jerry Adams came out to debunk those allegations, saying that that could have been because the former governor did not have all of the facts. Well, this morning we're being joined by Mr. Ben Bako, who is the former Commissioner for Information and Home Affairs in Kaduna State, who also is a member of the People's Democratic Party. He'll be joining us shortly. Oh, yes, I can see him now. Good morning, Mr. Bako. Good to have you on the program. Shall I say Barka de Salah to you? We hope that you're having a good holiday. But this is the controversy that we're dealing with this morning, this controversy over internally generated revenue. You are a former commissioner for information in Kaduna State. Can you give us some insights into how information flows and whether you're also privy to this particular controversy?
Thank you very much.
Oh dear, it does appear that we cannot hear Mr. Bako. Mr. Bako, if you can perhaps go off video, we might be able to hear what it is that you're saying, because it does appear that we're experiencing some technical issues. But Okay, I think that he'll be going off video. Perhaps we'll be able to get him shortly. We'll keep working on that. But this is the controversy. It's no brainer now. I don't think it's any news that there's been friction between the former governor of Kaduna State and the current governor, who interestingly were very close allies. And it would seem that there's now been controversy around figures. We do know that the current governor of the state, made some revelations around some mismanagement. We also remember that the House of Assembly in Kaduna State resorted to investigating the former governor over what they termed misappropriation of some funds. Payments were made to individuals, work was not carried out. The former governor of the state was not taking those allegations lying low. He came out very vociferously to defend his tenure in office. And part of what has now happened is some of these allegations and counter-allegations. You say something, the current governor of the state will say, no, that is not the current situation. And basically that back and forth has been on with regards to the politics of Kaduna. It's not been as strong as that of Rivers, but it's there low-lying and clearly a threat to the political, maybe not so much, but some people will say that Kaduna could be a very interesting state to watch out for with what has now transpired with the politics of the state, with the falling out of two erstwhile friends, in that particular state. But we continue to wait on Mr. Bako to see how it is that we can correct the technical issue that we're facing. We'll be back shortly to look at that particular matter. Please stay with us. Well, Mr. Ben Bako, it's good to have you join us this morning. Barka de Salah to you. I was just asking before you went off, if how the information flows in Kaduna State and whether you're still very much privy to some of the, the earnings of the internally generated revenue service.
Well, thank you very much. I'm a member of the PDP, the opposition party. I'm talking here as a citizen of Kaduna State and a stakeholder in the state who has been privileged to serve as a member of the State Executive Council. In any democratic setting, information dissemination has a structure through which information is being disseminated. But since the emergence of Rufai as governor of Kaduna State, these structures were distorted. But as I speak to you now, I have no comprehensive knowledge of the internally generated revenue of Kaduna State. But as a stakeholder, I have a fair idea of what the trend of events are as far as IGR is concerned in Kaduna State. I wish to say at this point that what Nasru Rufai is embarking upon is an image redemption crusade. Otherwise, he has no moral qualification to point an accusing finger to the government of the day pertaining IGR or corruption. This is my take.
You say an image redemption. How do you mean?
You see, at the moment, Rufai and his government is being alleged of corruption. And what I thought he should do now is to take measures to address this issue. Instead, he is putting up a fight to distract the government of the day from delivering on campaign promises. This is what I mean by image redemption crusade. Otherwise, I don't understand where the accused person has suddenly become the accuser. This is what we are witnessing in Kaduna State.
I'm a little curious, because you say that, because you have said that you are a member of the People's Democratic Party, you're speaking as a citizen of the state. this, yeah, the former governor of the state is still a stakeholder, very much so a stakeholder in the sense that not just was he governor of the state, he was also #1 citizen of the state for a while, so to speak. In other words, he would have been privy to some of the things that were happening in the state and perhaps still have information. So if he sees that things are not going well in the state, doesn't he have a right to speak up?
At this point, whatever would have qualified him to speak is not in his favor. He's the architect of whatever is happening in Kaduna State. Before the coming of Rufai, the IGR of Kaduna State is between 900 million to 1 billion, and at most 1.1 billion. Rufai came on board and instilled fear in the entire structure of the state, and turned the state to a tax state where everybody is compelled to pay taxes even ahead of time. So in this situation, people were forced to pay tax justifiably and unjustifiably. And suddenly you have a jack of the revenue. This is the claim of Rufai, that he has brought about tremendous improvement in the internally generated revenue of the state. And after his tenure, he is now accusing the sitting government that the revenue generation has dropped drastically, which is total fallacy, because what the impression he has created when he came to power is that taxes are not being remitted, which is not true. The truth here is that Rufai has interest in creating a picture that do not exist, and he has survived through this. He knows how to use the media, and I think he has used it maximally to project his image. But that is not true when it comes to what is happening today.
Yeah, but as a member of the PDP, shouldn't that be of interest to you? Shouldn't you just wait and see how it is that, people who were of the same party, discredit themselves, and, your party perhaps can rise on the back of that?
No. You see, when you are out of office, sometimes it is dangerous to speak about governance, because what you say may carry weight and may instigate people. I'm not here to instigate people, but he knows that what I'm saying is true, that in a state where you have subjected people to untold hardship, having survived 8 years of Rufai's terror, having survived 8 years of maladministration, having survived 8 years of administrative rascality, having survived 8 years of financial recklessness, I don't think he has the moral qualification to point an accusing finger to the present government, either on IGR or on corruption. This is my basis.
The point I'm making is that the two of them were in the same party. As a matter of fact, it was the former governor who brought this current governor as his successor and asked the people of Kaduna State to vote for him. So, yes, the former governor has now defected to the Social Democratic Party, but before that time, they were both in the same party. Shouldn't that be something that was considered an internal party affair that perhaps, was put out for all to see?
That is to tell you that Rufai is not sincere. If you are bringing on board a person, you have confidence in his capacity. If you bring on board somebody, you have confidence in his pedigree, then you should have no reason now to accuse him of anything. If you allow me, my position here is that the present governor would have deviated from maybe the arrangement, or is not dancing to the tune of the former governor. Otherwise, you will not accuse a person you have told the public that you have confidence and has the capacity to provide leadership for Kaduna State.
Shouldn't that be to the advantage of the PDP? That's the question I'm asking.
Of course it is, but don't forget, we're not discussing politics now. We're talking about the people of Kaduna State. For any elected government to deliver on its campaign promises, it is largely determined by the size of resources at its disposal, having a combination of what comes from the federal allocation and what is internally generated in the state. So if we're talking about providing essential services to the state, it goes beyond politics. Ordinarily, it should be to my advantage as an opposition member. But what we are discussing is beyond opposition. It's about the survival, the corporate survival of the people of Kaduna State. And I'm concerned about the fact that what Rufai is doing is trying to distract this government. It takes someone with wisdom to be able to correct all the mess that Rufai has left in this state. Don't forget, as I speak to you, Kaduna is the second most indebted state, indebted state in the Federation. And when you look at the size of what Rufai claimed to have generated internally, monthly and annually, and what he collects from the federal allocation, he has no reason whatsoever to secure or obtain a loan. But if you put together what he has generated internally and the loan he has taken for the state, when you look at it and the size of what he claimed to have done for the state is not commensurate to the quantum of what he has collected in terms of loan and what he has collected from the federal allocation to execute such projects. So what this present government is facing today is an expression of the damage that has been incurred by the former administration under Rufai. So Rufai should have no reason to point an accusing finger to the present government, because what Ubasani is doing today is to cope with the mess that Rufai has left over, and he should be thankful to God that he's still free. Otherwise, if he had handed over to a government that is not of his party, he should have been in jail by now, not pointing an accusing finger to the present government. So this is my point. This is my take on it.
Well, indeed, Kaduna State does have a significant debt profile, but there are those who also argue that the governor of Kaduna State the former governor of Kaduna State had significant projects to show in the state in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the work that was done, urbanizing, in urban renewal, doing roads, spent on health, infrastructure, spent on schools in the state, the school feeding program, which initiated, yes, I know that at some point I think I was abandoned, but there were all of these urban renewal projects that went on in Kaduna State. Are you saying that all of that, did not justify the amount of debts that the state gathered as a result of trying to, make sure that infrastructure was renewed in the state?
Anyone who believes Rufai on any matter stands the risk of going to hell. Anyone who believes Rufai, I can assure you he's an alien.
And you say that is not a political statement?
Madam, listen to me. If you believe Rufai on any matter, and I repeat, on any matter, don't forget, one of the leaders of this country described him as a pathological liar. I'm sorry to use this. I'm quoting a leader of this country who had worked closely with him and has described him as a pathological liar. So anyone who believes Rufai on any matter stands the risk of going to hell, because
people can say,
100 things he will tell you.
Mr. Bako, I was not referring to what he said. I'm referring to what it is that was done in the state. I'm referring to the infrastructural improvements that were done in the state. Those do not lie, do they? This is
what I want to tell you. That when you look at the size or the quantum of what Rufai had at his disposal as a governor of Kaduna State, and the project he claims to have delivered for Kaduna State, there's no basis to claim that he has delivered. The roads entirely, if you put them together, they are less than 100-kilometer roads, and they are township roads within 2 local governments. The roads are there for you to see and assess. Experts can tell you the length of the roads, the quality of the roads, and how much will be required to put such roads in place. The rural areas have no impact and had no experience of governance of the 8 years Rufai had led Kaduna.
Can I then ask you, what was the basis of his re-election in the first, because you just made reference to 8 years. What was the basis of his re-election and what was the basis of his party being elected again?
You don't live in Kaduna. When you say election, ask him, can he swear with the Quran that he won the election? Can he swear with the Quran that he won the election? We're not talking, Madam, we're not talking about election. When people elect people, there are certain factors that in the Nigerian context can declare somebody a winner of an election. So it's not a basis for an argument.
Well, we do know that this controversy has not been put to bed yet. I mean, certainly, you know, for those who, for where these initial figures came out from, I do know that I believe that there will still be some, you know, setting straight. But we have to thank you for We have to thank you for coming on the program. We're totally out of time, Mr. Bako, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry. Mr. Ben Bako is a former Commissioner for Information and Home Affairs in Kaduna State, and also, as he said, a member of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, please.
Well, we've come to the end of the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, there's quite some content on X that you might want to check out. I'm Aya Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.